Hello, Lisa Harrison here. It is Thursday, what's the date? 30th of January. Wow. And I'm in Morocco. This is my dodgy little room, which I now share with Sherry and Whitney, two of the other presenters on the 5D Media Network. I did have my own room for a couple of weeks, so I can't complain. Now, the reason for this is that I seem to be getting the same questions over and over again lately. And what we tend to forget, I guess, is that there are new people tuning in all the time, and some of them are struggling to get their heads around the terminology and the language that we use on the shows. So it's to try and share my perspective on the language and on where we're at. And hopefully for those of you who have been with us for the last year or more, there'll be something in it for you too. The most common question, I would say, is what's the difference between the absolute plan and the divine plan? What do you mean by that? And the best way for me to explain this is through an analogy. Now, the terminology itself, divine plan and absolute plan, really is Heather's. She introduced that to us. Heather Tucci introduced that to us 12 months ago. And this is what I'm going to share with you is my understanding through 12 months or more of, conversations with Heather. And I'll do it through analogy because I love analogies. That's what works for me. So, and the other thing is that I know that other people out there, when they use the term divine plan, they're referring to what I call the absolute plan. So yes, it does get confusing. I get that. But the best way for me to explain it is this. Imagine a huge research and development complex. And there is one individual in charge of this complex. She is the General Operations Director, and everybody calls her God for short. And they do research and development into human psychology, human technology in general. And GOD has her two top scientists and researchers. And in honour of Alpha Ra, who some of you know, I'll call these two top researchers, scientists, Lucifer and Michael. And one day, God, as she's affectionately known, calls Lucifer and Michael into her office and says, I have an idea for a project, and gives them a brief outline of, I want you to do a study on what happens to humanity when they have complete amnesia. What happens to people when they forget who they are, what they do. And I'm giving it to you completely. It's your project. I'm hands off. I just want you to come back to me with the results when you have them. Now, Michael and Lucifer were honoured, never been given complete creative control over a project before, and clearly wanted to do the right thing. So they sat down, they had a meeting, and they went through their guidelines. They created a structure for what this was going to look like. And like every corporation, this research and development complex was set up as your standard hierarchy. One person at the top, a couple more on the next level down, so on and so forth. So once Michael and Lucifer had their framework for how they were going to go ahead with this particular experiment, they then had to bring a team together. So they looked at their next level down and they pulled in their 12 best assistants. Now, for some, that might be considered the archangel realm. They were going to be the ones who did the dirty work. Michael and Lucifer would oversee things. They would collect all the data, do up the reports for the GOD. And once it was all in place, they then needed participants. And again, they chose to keep it in-house. So they kind of advertised within the company for volunteers. And the volunteers were promised pay rises and bonuses and opportunities for advancement and for participating. And Michael and Lucifer were so highly respected that they got many, many volunteers. Now, once this experiment begins, it involves, step by step, taking these participants through a process of forgetting. They used mind control. They used injections of chemicals. They used psychotropics. They used poisoned food. They used toxic drinking water. They used anything they could to interrupt the body, the mind, and the spirit of these people. But how do you do that when at the end of the day they're supposed to go home, back to their lives, and come back to work the next day? It doesn't work. So Michael and Lucifer decided that these people were going to have to stay inside the complex with no break in the environment that they were in and the pressure that they were under. So they split their duties. One took the day shift, one took the night shift, and they kept these people around the clock, interrupted their sleep, did whatever they could to mess with their heads. And sure enough, it didn't take long before they started to forget. They forgot about their lives outside this building, the reality outside this building. They forgot about their families. They forgot about the fact that they liked to play golf on the weekend. They forgot the fact that they spent the weekends on the couch drinking beer and watching sport. They forgot about everything. They even forgot who each other were. They forgot who they really are. They were able to be given new names and they would just adopt them. And go, okay, well, that must be who I am. Now, what Michael and Lucifer didn't know is that each one of those volunteers were called into GOD's office before the experiment began and she spoke to them and said, I believe you volunteered for this experiment. This is what I want you to do. And they were given a complete brief of what the objective of this experiment was. And GOD promised to remind them and not let them get lost in this experiment forever. What Michael and Lucifer also didn't know is that one of those participants in their experiment was a GOD in disguise. So when GOD felt that the experiment was over, she started to whisper in their ear, remember me? Remember that meeting that we had? Remember what I said to you? Do you remember what you said to me? Do you remember the promise I made? And one of them woke up. Just enough to start to think twice, to start to have flashes of memories of being in that office, to start to have flashes of memories of their previous life, their spouse, their kids, their friends, their house, their home. And thought, I have to investigate. I have to look into this. And whenever the opportunity arose, they snuck into the office and looked through the files and saw that the reporting, the data that had been collected, the so-called results of their testing had been fudged. Michael and Lucifer were lying about the tests that they were running, the objectives of those tests, and the results. Decided to look further and broke into GOD's office and found the real protocol for this experiment, what the experiment was really all about, and who the real subjects of the experiment were. And went back to the participants and also started talking to them and saying, I've seen it. I've seen the original objective in black and white on paper. Do you remember? You went and had a meeting in the GOD's office too. And slowly but surely, each of them started to wake up. Until such a time came that GOD revealed her true identity to Michael and Lucifer, and revealed the fact that they were in fact the true participants of this experiment. What would happen if she gave these two individuals complete creative control over this experiment? And to me, that is the difference between the divine plan and the absolute plan. The divine plan is what was implemented inside that facility, inside that laboratory with those participants. And the absolute plan was GOD's plan. And that moment of the unveiling is where we've been over the last few months. And in particular, only recently, like halfway through November, did God, in this analogy, expose herself to Michael and Lucifer and have them completely understand that they thought they knew it all. They thought they knew the ultimate plan, the absolute plan, but that they didn't, and there was a grander plan. And as a result, I'm seeing and being contacted by people who are very, very connected to that angelic realm that you would say Michael and Lucifer are a part of, and they are freaking out. They have been freaking out. They believe something terrible has happened. And I guess from their perspective, something terrible has happened. But it hasn't. Something wonderful has happened. And that unveiling of forgetfulness has happened. The veil of forgetfulness has been lifted. And everybody is starting to remember. I mean, exponentially just since the middle of November, it feels extraordinary, really, in terms of the numbers of people and to the degree to which they're remembering who they are. So I hope that clears up divine versus absolute. To me, absolute is totally on track, and there is no stopping it. And the absolute plan is for everybody, every embodiment, everywhere, to be free, to know and remember who they are and what they can do. And nothing's going to stop it. And certainly in the course of the last 13 months, working with the One People's Public Trust and its trustees, and Heather in particular, I've seen time and time again how those who are very, very attached to the divine plan attempt to, it's 333, attempt to disrupt. And it just bites them on the arse. And we've also seen how many people have been exposed, or have exposed themselves over the last 13 months. And it's all, from what I can see, part of the process of getting them to wake up to the absolute plan, to recognise it. So I hope that one clears that up. What was the other thing? What do we mean by following the energetic trail? Well, sometimes the energetic trail is so obvious it slaps you in the face and there's no denying it, and sometimes you feel lost and you're not sure which way to go, you're not sure which way to move. To me, the energetic trail is the easiest trail. It's the one where there's no resistance. It's the one where there is support. You know, if you're trying to go left, but you can't go left, and you've got people saying over here, come right, it's really easy. I can give you this, I can give you that, I can help you do this, whatever. Go right. It's lighting up, it's illuminating, as we say. So sometimes it's asking a question and then really being in the moment and really observant of what shows up. The answer is in a song. It's in something a child says. It's in the book you read. And especially when it's the same message, repeat it. You know, you hear somebody say something and then it's in the line of a song and then it's on a TV commercial and then it's in the news. That's the energetic trail. That's the message trying to be... You know. And it is just the one, it's the one that flows. It's the one that there is very little, if any, resistance to, except the resistance you bring to it yourself. What else? I think I've covered why the angelics are freaking out. So my personal kind of experiences, particularly since Christmas Day, are that I really haven't had a day off energetically since then. There are people who, for whatever reason, whatever's bringing them here, it's their energetic trail, it's lighting the way for them, are being drawn to come here to Morocco. And as of today, I think there's 19 of us, including one child. And there is a doing that we will be doing this weekend, the 1st and 2nd of February, an energetic doing. And it'll be the first of I don't know, I'm going to say many, but because I haven't got a set figure on it yet. They won't all be here in Morocco. They'll be in different parts of the world, but this is definitely a time to listen to that inner call, to follow that energetic trail, and to, if you have to physically get up and move. Go to where you're called. I keep getting this image of a 3D jigsaw puzzle of the globe, and each of us are a piece. And in isolation, none of those pieces give you a picture, give you any picture. Sometimes it's half a flower. And they all have their unique position. You can't make it fit anywhere else. And right now is a time where we're all getting into position. The pieces of the puzzle are being drawn together and this globe is being formed. When you stand back, you see a beautiful, seamless image. But between now and, I'm going to say May, kind of feels, is where we're all getting into position. And I feel like that doesn't necessarily mean you have to be in a particular place and stay there. What I mean by that is, because I actually don't feel I will be, I think I'll be more mobile than that, but it's about being with particular energetic signatures with particular people. And there are times, there'll be different times for different signatures to come together in order to achieve certain things. It's not about being stagnant. So, that's my rambling for today. I hope this cleared some things up for some people. And if you have any more questions, let me know. But this was the easiest way to address them. So thank you and love you. Bye for now.